Michelle asked the question, what is the official church teaching on the gift of speaking in tongues? A lot of Protestants claim to have the gift. Yeah, the church has not really taught super clearly on the gift of tongues. It does appear in two different places in the letters of St. Paul, and he kind of speaks about them almost in contradictory ways. So in one of them, he talks about how, look, if somebody has the gift of tongues, but nobody is interpreting it, then it's not real. And so some people will hold very strongly to that, where he says, like, look, speaking in tongues in the sense of babbling, that's not of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth, the spirit of knowledge. Therefore, it needs to be understandable. And if this gift of tongues is a gift of the Holy Spirit, then it needs to also impart knowledge. But there do seem to be other times in which there's another part where Paul talks about speaking in the tongue of angels, and in angelic tongues, or angelic language, which assumably would be a language that nobody can understand because it's angelic. At least not ordinary human beings could understand it. And so there may be a little bit of a space for speaking in tongues, which is something that nobody understands. In my opinion, it seems that for nobody to understand it, including the person who is saying the words, doesn't really make sense. If praying in tongues is supposed to be this kind of elevated form of prayer, well, then there ought to be some sort of communion and communication in that speaking in tongues, at the very least, between the person who is praying and God. And so if the person who is praying does not understand what is being said or what is happening, then it seems to me that that's probably more of some sort of psychological babbling that is happening, that it doesn't really have meaning, and therefore isn't really of God. But also the church has not spoken clearly on that. It's still very much a debated point.